Story 1. The Midnight Caller. It was a cold, rainy night, the kind of night where the world outside feels hushed and empty. Sarah was home alone, the glow of her TV her only company. Then her phone rang, an unknown number. She hesitated but answered. A static-filled silence greeted her. "Hello?" she whispered. No reply. Just a faint scratching sound on the other end, like nails on a blackboard. She hung up, a shiver running down her spine. A minute later it rang again, same number. This time a low, guttural voice whispered, "I know you're alone." The line went dead. Sarah's blood ran cold. She locked her doors and windows, her heart pounding in her chest. She told herself it was a prank, a sick joke. But as she stood in the dark, she saw a light blink on across the street, in the abandoned house that had been empty for years. A light in a second-story window, a light that seemed to be blinking in a rhythm. Blink, blink, blink. She knew that light wasn't from a prankster, and she knew she wasn't alone anymore. Story 2. The Whispering Woods. Every town has a local legend, a place the kids dare each other to visit. For us it was the Whispering Woods. People said if you walked deep enough into the woods at night you could hear them. The whispers, not of the wind but of the trees themselves, whispering secrets, forgotten stories, and names of those who never came back. Mark, a born skeptic, decided to prove the legend wrong. He grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the woods just before midnight. The deeper he went, the colder it got. The trees seemed to lean in, their branches like skeletal fingers. Then he heard it, a faint murmur, a low hum of voices all around him. He couldn't make out the words at first, but then one voice, a child's voice, was clear as day. "He's here," it said. Another voice, deep and gravelly, answered, "We know." Mark's heart hammered against his ribs. He turned to run, but everywhere he looked the trees were closer, the shadows deeper. He was lost, and the whispers were getting louder, clearer. "We can see you, Mark," 100 voices seemed to say at once. "We can see you." He never found his way out, but sometimes when the wind blows just right through the woods you can still hear him. A faint whisper among the others, a new voice in the chorus. Story 3. The Broken Doll. The antique shop on the corner was a place of forgotten things, a dust-filled museum of memories. Emily loved it. One day, she found a doll tucked away in the back, a beautiful porcelain doll with a cracked face and one missing eye. The shopkeeper warned her, some things are better left untouched. But Emily couldn't resist. She took the doll home. That night, she woke to a sound, a quiet scraping sound coming from the living room. She crept out of bed and peeked around the corner. The doll was on the floor, dragging itself across the wooden boards, leaving a small trail of dust behind it. As Emily watched in horror, the doll slowly lifted its head. Its one remaining eye, black and empty, met hers. And then it smiled, a wide, cracked grin that split its porcelain face even further. A tiny voice, like a child's whisper, filled the silent room. "You fixed me," it said. "Now I'll fix you." Emily ran, locking herself in her room, a silent scream trapped in her throat. The scraping sound started again, this time from outside her door. Scrape, scrape, scrape. And that night, Emily learned that some broken things can't be fixed. They can only be joined. Story 4. The Dollhouse. Mia loved miniatures. Her pride and joy was a 3-story Victorian dollhouse she'd spent months building. She'd meticulously furnished every room, creating a perfect tiny world. But one night, she woke up to a soft sound, a faint giggle coming from downstairs. She froze, her heart thumping. Her cat was sleeping next to her, so it wasn't that. Slowly, she crept to the top of the stairs and peered down. The faint light from the street lamp outside cast long shadows. She saw it. The tiny front door of the dollhouse was slightly ajar, and then she saw a flicker of movement inside. The tiny rocking chair in the nursery began to rock on its own, a slow, deliberate rhythm. Creak, creak, creak. As she watched, a tiny doll figure, one she didn't recognize, appeared in the second-story window. It was looking at her. And then it raised a tiny hand and waved. a chilling, slow wave. Mia stumbled back, her hand over her mouth to stifle a scream. The next morning, she checked the dollhouse. Everything was exactly as it should have been. The front door was closed, the rocking chair still. But as she looked into the tiny kitchen, she saw something new. A miniature human-shaped figure was sitting at the tiny table, a figure that looked exactly like her. She stared at the tiny replica, a cold dread washing over her. She knew in that moment that she wasn't just building a dollhouse, she was building a prison. And she was the next doll. Story 5. The Night Shift. Ben was a security guard working the graveyard shift at an old, abandoned factory. The place was a maze of rusted machinery and dark corridors. His job was simple: patrol the perimeter and make sure no one got in. It was a boring job, but the pay was good. One night, a strange notification popped up on his security monitor. The motion sensor in the old boiler room had been triggered. Ben sighed, probably a stray animal. He grabbed his flashlight and headed down the long, dark hallway. The air grew colder the closer he got. He pushed open the heavy metal door to the boiler room. The room was empty, just rusty pipes and cold boilers. He checked the monitor again. The sensor was still active. As he looked closer, he saw it. The camera wasn't pointed at the room anymore. It was pointed at him. A message appeared on the screen. A single glowing line of text. "I can see you." Ben's heart leaped into his throat. He looked around wildly. He was alone. Or was he? A low metallic clanging echoed from the other side of the room. He aimed his flashlight and saw a shadow move. Not the shadow of a person. The shadow was tall and thin with long, spindly limbs. It was moving toward him, not walking, but scuttling along the pipes above. Ben ran. He didn't look back. As he burst out of the factory and into the night, he heard a sound, a quiet mechanical giggle coming from the monitor. He knew then that whatever was in that factory didn't just want him out, it wanted him to be part of the machinery. And now he was, forever.